Hello and welcome to the Early Bird Special with your hosts, Carole Montgomery and Julia Scotti. And now, here's Carole Montgomery.
All right, we're about to start, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, here I am. Hello, can you hear me? I hope you can hear me. Welcome to the Early Bird Special. How is everybody today? What is happening? We are in day 5 billion of the pandemic. It's actually beautiful here in New York City today. It was like the first day that the snow is stopped, and we went outside for a walk, and I had on my big winter coat, and it was fabulous. It was so nice outside. So that was great. So I was sweating. So I was very excited. Very excited about that. So one of the things I've figured out now is blouse sales have gone through the roof during the pandemic, but jeans not so much. It's a little jokey I made. Uh, uh, I'm hopeful this middle of February that things are getting better. I'm up for the vaccine. Haven't gotten it yet because well, New York City only has 300,000 and 10 million people want the vaccine, which I think is good. I really do. I'm very hopeful, and we'll be talking about this with Julia and our fabulous guest, Maria Bamford, about comedy coming back. There's a lot of that's something I want to talk about with the ladies too. There's a lot of stuff happening right now where they're starting, people are starting to do shows again, and so that's pretty exciting. I'm going to bring on Julia because we have the fabulous Maria Bamford, and we have so much to say to her. But so let me bring on Julia. I want to talk about what the news about New York City. By the way, if you don't know about this, New York City is bringing performances back live outdoors, which is like we've been doing that already. With famous people, but let me bring on Julia and we will chat about that. So here's my fabulous co-host. Hello, Miss Scotti. How are you?
How are you, Miss Carole? How are you? Am I like
I'm
out
good.
of the shot? I should make the shot a little bit.
No. You look pretty good, right? Well, right now I can see up your nose. So lean back.
I don't want to do that. But I strategically place my album in the shot this week.
Oh, very smart.
It's what we like to call subliminal advertising.
So I like that. I like that very much.
You don't really know you're looking at it, but
really,
when this show's over, people go, "Yeah, I want that album.
I want that album." Well, it's doing well, right? Isn't it playing on?
Sure, yeah. Playing everywhere.
Well, what I like to explain to the people who are not in our business, this is whenever you have an album out, it's called mailbox money. So it gets played, and then money shows up in your bank account from Sound Exchange, which is great. So I'm assuming it's doing real well and is playing on Spotify all the time.
It's gotten me through the pandemic, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah,
wow.
It's helped a lot.
Wow, that's amazing.
But not enough. They need to go out and buy multiple copies of it.
Buy multiple copies
and play it.
Yes.
Anyway.
So we were talking before the show that you did some live shows this weekend and indoors. So let's talk about it. How was it?
It was fantastic. Vince Valentine, who is just we both know is a sweetheart. Paul Lyons and I were on the show at the Avenel Performing Arts Center in Avenel, New Jersey, which is right near Woodbridge. And beautiful venue, very intimate, very COVID safe. They separated everybody. You could only take your mask off to sip your aperitif.
Wow.
And then you had to put it back on again. And they had separate mics for us. It was really, they really, it was a wonderful weekend.
How far was the audience as far as the stage? How far?
Oh, not typical, like maybe, 15 feet.
Oh, okay. Because some of the theaters are talking about actually doing, where they're going to really like cut out the first two rows.
Well, these were tables. They weren't. It wasn't theater seating, so it's they could put the tables wherever the hell they wanted.
Oh, that's
to,
interesting.
So,
That's
yeah,
fabulous. That's
yeah.
interesting.
So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know what's going on here in the city and with the city clubs and everything, but like the mayor,
I heard you. I was surprised to hear that. Yeah, that's great.
but the problem I have with him is that they're doing all these outdoor shows with famous people. It's like, no offense, rich famous people, you don't really need to do the performing. You know,
I'm not sure. What do they do?
they're supposed to be doing outdoor shows with like, what's his name? I should know this because
Julio Iglesias.
No, Hugh Jackman and like all these Broadway singers, which is great. And I understand that it's fabulous, but it's like, what about us? What about the struggling performers?
Come on, Carol. We're at the bottom of the food chain in show business. Come on.
I know.
Come on. Come on. Wake up and smell the coffee.
But it still bothers me though.
That bothers me too, but
I just want us to get back to work. I just want to. So, but listen, our fabulous guest is here.
I can't wait.
I can't. So hi there. I saw her futzing. Well, I have to introduce her first.
Oh, okay.
She was having some, the screen went black, then she came back, then she moved away, then she did a bunch of stuff. I'm thrilled to have this young lady on the show to talk about comedy because she is a true groundbreaker. She's done everything. I mean, comedy, acting, voiceover, cartoons. So, and I'm thrilled that we're having her on the show.
She's the whole package.
So
she's Lady Dynamite.
Like she is. Let's bring her on. Let's bring Maria Bamford on. Hey, hi,
Maria. Hey, and I'm 50.
You are
today?
Happy birthday!
I appreciate that. I appreciate being called a young lady. That's fun.
Well, to me, you are. Today? No, because I called her a young lady.
Oh, she is a young lady. I mean, yeah.
Well, to me, you're a young lady because I'm 63. So to me, you're a nice young. By the way, before we start this, Maria, I want to say we met years ago, but my mind is gone because it seems like we know each other.
Yeah, with comedy, you meet people over and over again, but then, and I don't know, my brain has grown smaller. I can't seem to remember. I assume I know everyone, and just say,
you don't know me. We've never met. So
okay. See, I thought maybe we had met.
You did.
Well, now we're meeting, and that's all that's important.
Exactly.
That is all. It's just we're in the moment, Maria.
But that's the thing. That's the greatest thing about one of the things I miss about like in the before times is the camaraderie that we had. Like we all know each other, or at least we've heard of each other.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I miss I miss everything about comedy now. Like I said this in the last show. I'm sure you'll appreciate this. Is somebody had written a book about what it was like to be a road comic in the 80s. And I said to him, you made me miss shitty one-nighters.
Oh, goodness. Yes. You're wearing rose-colored glasses when you're missing the Comfort Inn and Suites outside of Indianapolis. No, I just miss the people, but I'm doing Zoom shows. You guys doing the Zoom thing or?
Carol, yes. She's doing more than I am.
It's fun. It's fun. And the great thing is you can mute people.
Wait a minute. I got to tell you, I was watching your show with your parents the other night, and that was just the most extraordinary thing I think I'd ever seen comedically. It's been I had my mother come to a show once in my life, and I swore to God it would never happen again, and she came to a club. Because she told me I wasn't funny. You have them in front of you, and they're laughing in your home.
Well, I also paid them 600 bones apiece.
Oh, okay.
And plied them with beer and pizza. Oh, okay. So I think a lot of that laughing was nervously. And my dad is also partially deaf. So he could not, a lot of the stuff I say, he said, I couldn't understand, but I tried to.
But yeah.
That's just, I think I know the special, because the special, that was That was almost 10 years ago that you did
Yeah,
it.
I think 10 years ago. Yep.
Was it
was
really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was groundbreaking in the sense that now that's what we're doing. We're playing to nobody. We're playing to two people. You were ahead of your time, young lady.
Oh, please. Well, and I think it's so brave. I have done one outdoor show, and it was so painful. It was in a parking lot show with all the cars.
Oh,
And
yeah.
people could make a sound with a fan, or they could blink their lights off and on. And I bombed. And I could tell that I bombed because the two comics before me got a lot of punk, punk, punk. I mean, that's even more painful to bomb in a new situation.
Yeah.
I've heard you say that you prefer small crowds. You really, I mean,
Yes.
you're most comfortable in a setting like with your parents. I mean, in a in a tiny place. And I get that, like we come from New York clubs, which were always tiny, and but talk about that a little bit. Why do you think that is?
I'm fine. Well, because I'm more introverted, and also I always want to do well. So if I can set myself up to be in front of a fully, like if I do shows off Twitter for one-on-one shows, and those are people who are already in publicly. They've said, "I am a fan," and so it's not on me at that point.
Yeah.
But clubs definitely. I stopped at a certain point trying to do rooms where I didn't do well, just because it was a bummer. But I know that can be, people feel like that's a part of the art form. Like you should be able to make any crowd laugh, and in that way, I am not a comedian. I do not. I for sure. It's better to bring me up to the stage as a melanoma survivor with an announcement.
But you weren't always. I mean, you weren't always famous, so you had to have gone through that baptism by fire. Yes.
But you know that famous people. I mean, if people don't like it, they don't like it. Like it doesn't matter like what your credits are. If you go up in front of governors of Long Island and they say, "We were here to have a good time," and you're ruining it.
Well, Maria, it's so funny that you mentioned governors because there's that great. I'm sure you saw the Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian where he goes into governors, and he's at the height. He's at the height of his fame, and he walks out to the green room and he says to Colin Quinn, "How fucking famous do you have to be?" Because he had eaten it. They had hated him.
Yes, I think that's a part of stand-up that I have not embraced. I know some people love the bomb or love to win a whole crowd back. I know a couple of my friends, Lori Kilmartin, Jack Station out here, they love that. Like that feeling of like they didn't know who I was, and then I get them. And no. I would like to have the warmth of a women's festival, like women's with an I and two M's and a Y. And
let me ask you a question. So because you feel comfortable, obviously because your fans come to see you, but what was it like when you were first starting out? Because you started out in Minneapolis, right?
I started in Minneapolis, and I also did a lot of performance art venues. Then I started headlining once I got a TV spot. I did the road a few times, and I did so poorly that I was fired. I was bumped to middle. I moved to the road. Yeah. So it was only once I got enough credits. When I got a first half-hour special, that was the first time I had done a half hour of stand-up before.
Wow.
Which is it's just a different way of going, but I did not do well on the road, and I tried my very hardest. I tell you, I tried so hard.
But now you're not. What is it? 9 specials in?
Oh shit! Yeah, no, I believe I think 5.
Oh, because your website says 8 plus the one that.
She doesn't run her website. That's one of her.
Oh, okay. Oh, only 5. I could do 5.
Maybe I think 5 or 6. I'm not sure. Who cares? Who cares? I mean, then you die, and then it's all.
No, but the reason I'm bringing that up is because it just requires it exhausts an enormous amount of material, and yet Yes, no?
Yeah. Well, and I think the way I perform is really because I don't rely on the audience like thinking it's funny. uh, that I do a lot of theater. I do black box theater. Like I don't have to acquiesce to any of the needs of the crowd or the service orientedness of comedy. So it's just stuff that makes me laugh. Of course, but I can bomb anywhere, anytime. I will pick the venue, but I'm sure you can find one for me where I will do terribly right now.
But your philosophy about doing it for you is pretty much what any good comic should be doing it for him or her. Yeah, right.
I think it depends on what your philosophy. Because some people are like, I want to make people happy. I want to make people laugh. That somehow isn't as important to me as
I love that. But you know what? I think now let me ask you. So you mentioned the thing that you said you bombed at this drive-in thing. How did you feel? Like, did it make you feel like
you said, you want to do the show tomorrow night? And I was like, no, thank you.
So did it feel, because I know that when I bomb, I it's like I'm right back from that first time I stood on stage.
Yes. Yeah. No, I ran off. Like, when you're just like, when people are like, hey, can we take a selfie? No, I'm out of here.
I call that mommy time, because you just want to run to your mama's arms and just have her hold you.
Well, do you think because I did one of those drive-in shows too, but I was lucky because it was a hybrid. There were actually people in the front that were in picnic tables. And then there were the cars behind, and it was very weird that when you hit a punchline and you saw like one light go off, it was like you start thinking, am I having a seizure? What is happening? Right. So it's such a bizarre, but so have you done any of the outdoor shows that are not drive-ins yet?
No, I have not. And partly, no, and it's all fear-based. I don't do super well at outdoor shows in general. I'm kind of a quieter act. I'm super wordy, and some might say like different ways to describe that might be I need to edit. But I love every one of my words. So it's not a venue I often do well in anyway. So I prefer the quiet focus and I love Zoom has been really pretty fun for me, except for the lack of laughs when you can't, you can see people laughing, but you cannot always hear them if you want the sound to be good.
Well, I have a question. I know this sounds like an amateur question, and I don't mean it to sound that way, but having watched you so many times, how much of your stuff is scripted?
All of it.
Really, that's amazing to me.
No, I memorize everything, and I'm more of a theatrical act. I definitely, I'm not an improviser. I just do it the same exact way over and over and over again. And I know I've talked to other comics who are like, oh, don't you get bored? And I'm like, no, because I wrote it.
No, that's really interesting though, because it obviously it doesn't sound that way, which is why I had to know. That's amazing.
No, I am a stiff dancing monkey.
But Woody Allen was like, when he did his stand-up, he was always verbatim. It was always saying
it's
that.
important to say to the people that are watching this. Now, that's really a mark of a real professional.
Yes.
Because when I watched your stuff, I was like, wow, she's doing stuff off the cuff. And but that's what's so great. That's how wonderful you are as a comedian, because it looks like you're doing that. It absolutely looks. You look like you just walked on stage, and I'm going to just say these things that came to me.
All of the Lady Dynamite episodes look that way too. I mean, they all, they look like they were worked around a loose premise, but that you all improvised the lines. So thank you.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, those were all written by WGA members.
It was, by the way, brilliant. It was just a brilliant show. I mean,
Yeah, I loved it. We loved it.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. Thank you. What, yeah, so you, Carole, have you done outdoor shows yourself in New York area, or?
Well, I was really lucky. I've said this before on the show, and I'm curious. Julia knows this about me. When this first hit, when the pandemic hit, I was gobsmacked. I mean, I couldn't do anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, I literally for the first 6 weeks walked around, and because a little bit of the backstory is literally the day of the quarantine is when the second Showtime special of that I created, Funny Women of a Certain Age, aired.
Which looked great. I just saw the preview of it, but it with that Julia was on. It was so
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
But literally March 14th is when the lockdown happened. So all this great stuff was supposed to happen this last year. So I was hit by the pandemic, and then I was hit by that, and I was like, all right, I just need to I didn't do anything. People wanted me to do Zoom. People wanted me to do live, and I just couldn't do anything. And then we started doing this show in April just to put makeup on and to bathe.
Yes. No. To be doing, yeah.
Exactly. And then Stand Up New York started doing. They were the first to experiment with outdoor shows in Central Park, and they saved me because just to be able to be out there. We were doing it with no mic. There were kids in the background and animals, and it's Central Park. But
of course
it was. I think you because as a comedian you feel this being on stage when we're on stage wherever, it's so therapeutic for us. So for me, I love doing the outdoor shows. And Julia's done some outdoor shows too, right?
Yeah, we did one a couple of weeks back in it was a huge tent.
Yeah, we did
open-ended tent, 25-degree weather.
Yeah,
everybody was wearing winter clothing, and they had these heaters, but it was wonderful.
Yeah, you would actually. That's a show. I think that's a venue Maria should do.
Yeah, she should. Yeah, you would love that.
It's called Soul Joel's in Philadelphia, and they treat you like amazing, and the audience could not have been better.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, I'm coming out to Brooklyn at the end of March, so who knows? But I'm supposed to be in quarantine. It's for a TV show.
Oh, okay.
Of course, no, I'm not getting. Oh, my brain is. Did you guys know a comedy named Kareem Green?
Yes, I know Kareem.
Yeah, so I'm playing his husband, and he's playing my husband. It'll be a little off, or could be possible, but I'm not. Yeah, he's playing my husband in a comedian's pilot.
Oh, nice.
So there's a show for Showtime. So he has a great joke about like how comedy is therapy, for people who can't afford therapy.
Yeah, very true.
Like, this is all, yeah. So it is just like I go to a ton of support groups. I don't know about you guys, but I go to a bunch of 12-step fellowship things. Yes, they're cults. Number 1, they're free. Number 2, they're free. Number 3, they can't kick me out. Even if you go to any of those meetings with a full bottle of Jack Daniels and you're eating an ice cream cake with a stolen porn DVD, all anyone will say is, "Oh, are you a newcomer?" It's ridiculous, but but the stand-up reminds me it's just like a support group, except it's like much better shares. They're tight.
We were talking about. I was talking to a comic the other day about how having been locked up, in the house for the last year. As comics, if we didn't have the outlet on stage, we start to get a little squirrely, and a lot of us are starting to get that way. And it's never been more apparent just how therapeutic doing stand-up is for us to get, to keep us from killing somebody.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, that actually brings me to the new show that you're doing. What's My Ailment?
Yeah, that's a show that I did on Topic that has like 11 episodes. And actually, the show that I'm trying to plug is I'm doing a full hour on February 27th on Rush Ticks. com with my friend Jackie Cation going to open.
Oh, she's the best.
It's going to be like a 2-hour-long show. We'll be hanging out and having fun. And if it's $15 on rushtix.com, but if you don't have $15, please just email me at Aria May Amford Bay. That is the pig Latin of my name. Aria May Amford Bay at gmail.com. And I'll just send you the code.
Say that slowly because there are people writing this down.
Aria May Amford Bay at gmail.com. Also, I would YouTube my stand-up before you come because I wouldn't even waste a free code if you haven't seen what I do.
Oh, you should. People who are watching, you're one of the best.
Yeah, but it's not for everybody. So anyways, I know my father has often tried to get his buddies to watch me. And he's like, yeah, we had to turn it off. And I said, what was going on? Why are you telling me this?
Yeah.
My problem.
That's so funny. I have to tell you, talking about dads, when I started, my parents never and I've been doing stand-up almost 40 years now. My father, years later, I said to my mother, I said, why didn't Dad ever come see me? And this is my direct quote. He was afraid you were going to bomb, honeys. So it's
well, that was the reason I told you. My mother, I brought her the one time, and she said, you're much funnier when you're just talking. Extemporaneously. Oh, well, she didn't say extemporaneously because she didn't know that word. But your parents seem very supportive of you in a million different ways.
But they're just like everybody you love. They have said the wrong thing. My mom actually passed away.
I'm so sorry.
Which I know. Yeah, that's awful. But my dad, 2 months later, has a girlfriend.
No.
I'm happy for her because my mom would have totally wanted that for him. She told that to us. She said, he's going to be lonely. Here's a list of women that
was it somebody he knew?
Yeah. And then, but my mom totally said, I think she would be great because she could take care of my garden. And then this lady.
Oh, that's wild.
That's
so
fantastic.
she really, because, he's 80. It's like, that blows, to be suddenly alone after 60 years. So
I was going to say, how long were they married? So they were together 60 years. Wow.
6 years. Yeah, so he's having a good time. But he invited his new lady to one of my shows. He's like, wow, that was rough. It was so slow.
She said that, the woman said
no,
that?
He said that. He called me to let me know that was his review. It was a different kind of show where it wasn't stand up. It was like a theatrical show. And I was just like, Dad, why? But I think people just want to share with you what their experiences sometimes.
Now, the difference between your dad and my dad, my dad passed away about 5 years ago, but he would literally, whenever he would come to see me in Atlantic City, he would walk through the casino saying, my daughter's in the showroom if you want to see her. Along with taking everything like he could. Like I always tell people that when you go into a hotel room and the pictures are nailed down, that is because of my father, because he would steal everything. He would absolutely. So it's interesting how fathers are. Once he got over the fact that I couldn't bomb, then he was fine.
Oh, that's wonderful. My dad, one of the sweetest things he did, he got me a gig performing for the local motorcycle club, Harley Davidson Motorcycle Club.
Oh no!
And I
can see that. Yeah.
No, they did not want me. But unfortunately, they had a budget of about $2,000. And so my dad said, I should hire my daughter. She's a comedian. Woo! Did I stink up the room? And I think provided memories for people. Oh, but the great thing that he did is that he agreed because I said, I know I'm going to bomb, Dad. Would you bomb in front of me? So he did stand up, his own stand up for 7 minutes before me. And he also went down.
Wow.
poorly. So it was a family
Your
affair.
father
Wow.
did not, having seen, your father did not look like a Harley guy to me from what.
Well, it was like a trip, a rider. So it was like Harleys, but they weren't. It was like those giant touring bikes.
Yeah.
Anyways, all sorts of.
Oh, the one with all
but
the
a
lights
lot of
on it and
Harleys.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, every kind of bike, but it's a smaller town. It's Duluth, so it was mostly Harleys. But
That's wild. I have a quick question for you. So, one of the things I always like to, you're very successful. Do you feel being a woman in this business helped you or hurt you? Because I get that we get that question a lot.
yeah, it's this huge issue, like
Right.
for clubs. There was a study done fairly recently that I was a part of, what they said before the COVID, that I believe it's only 8% of clubs nationwide, and that's not including all the clubs in New York and LA that have a lot of showcase sets.
Right.
But that's road clubs. 8% are women, which is like, that's insane. That's just that's like leaving
Women
money.
owned, you mean? Women owned? Is that what you're saying? Women owned?
Yeah, that have women headliners. I think it's
Really?
like it's like, I think it's 8%, and then maybe it's 13% altogether, and maybe 8% women of color and women. Yeah, and then there's, in terms of like gender identity difference, there's zero.
Yeah.
So, but I think those are clubs that are mostly heteronormative. But I just, that comedy clubs have always kind of been that way.
Absolutely.
But they're just, it's a cash cow. They're insane.
Yeah.
To not have different acts coming in, and that I find really sad.
Yes and no. As a trans woman, I very rarely see trans folks in my audiences. It's almost never. This past weekend, we had, I think, four gay guys in the club and one lesbian couple. Very rare though to see that too. I don't know why. It'd be hard for them to play, I think, in Duluth, for instance, or in the South or places like that.
But I think it's a real clear lack of marketing. Like,
I agree.
The festival circuit is doing well and building audiences and working on social media and getting out there and getting new fan bases for people who aren't necessarily. And there's some clubs that aren't doing, that are standouts that do have more representation of the human experience. But I'm a old white lady and I get booked at the clubs, but I think there is a white supremacist reason for that. There's a weird reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
well, it's interesting because like I said, because I've been doing stand-up forever, but I remember because right before I had my son, and now my son's going to be 29, so we're talking 30 years ago. I was gone every weekend. Every weekend I was headlining every weekend. And then, once I had him, and then I ended up in Vegas for 10 years. And so when I came back to comedy and touring, this was great. There were more women in the field, so there was more competition. But all of a sudden it was like, if there's 52 weeks a year, any comedy club in the country maybe is putting in 3 female headliners. So that's 49 weeks. See, I can add. That's 49 weeks of the same stuff every time. And what's amazing to me is, you're right, Maria. They're losing money because there's so many other types of comics. Why do you want the same thing all the time?
Yeah. No, it's I think, like, I have friends with disabilities, like, and it's like, where things aren't marketed. People with disabilities have money, like,
right.
Like, and
right.
It's just so dumb.
Yeah.
It's just really just doesn't to have just not making things accessible in terms of just marketing, going, oh, we'd welcome you and we'd love to have this, people who would relate to this comedian come into our club. Like, I think, I just think if you look at any of the headline, whatever headliners that are coming in,
Right.
it is a sea of white.
Right.
There's a couple of black men and maybe 3 women per year. And that's a message. That's a message.
But I think that's what makes you stand out, because you have dealt with the mental illness on stage. You talk about it openly. It's important that you're doing that for the same reason that, I talk about being trans on stage to straight white audiences. It's important that they hear it. And I think what you're doing as a comic is just, I have the greatest admiration for you. And I know you couldn't be anything else but what you are up there, but what you are up there is wonderful. So just
well, and I think the answer is like, well, what, in terms of representation, it's like, all you can do is look at your own plate and then go, who am I hiring as openers? I know I didn't realize that, a lot of times I was just having people open for me that were a certain kind of person. And I was like, shit. Like, just noticing what can I do to make the playing field, more, leveler and there's just surprising things that I didn't know I have tons of access to. Like, I have a friend who, she's a musician and she's in a wheelchair, and she'll have people invite her to go perform, and a long way away. She'll get there and they won't have wheelchair access.
Jesus.
Wow.
To the stage,
knowing that she was coming.
Yeah, like, what the hell? So it's this. I just think, that's. I get passionate about it just because I've never run a club. And so I have a lot of opinions.
Well, how do you respond to that? If you say, if a club owner says, well, I could put so-and-so in, but they're not drawing, and I have to pay bills. So what do you say to that? Because I've gotten that. I get that all the time.
Well, I think there's something to building an audience, with somebody who takes risks, and also, of like saying, well, can I do 2 days midweek headlining, and we'll do a door deal, and I'll, pump it up, do whatever it is, like, can I make a dark day be a moneymaker for you? I totally get it. If I'm not a draw, and I know I'm not in a lot of places, like,
really?
That's fair enough. But like, if I can do something helpful to you, why wouldn't you reach out to different populations that might make your club more money?
Take a step. Oh, go ahead, Carole. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, in the same thing about the draw thing. Like, I find it, there was a time, and Maria, you were around for this also, when the boom was, that first boom in the early 90s, where everybody was, and people were just coming to comedy clubs, and then it slowed down. And then the club owners went, well, we'll give free tickets. And once they gave the free tickets away, nobody was going to be a draw, because everyone was like, why am I going to go pay for money if I'm going to get free tickets? So that whole thing about not being a draw drives me. It's one of those pet peeves that I go, I hate when people say that, because it's not about that. Like, there are certain shows that I do now that are like, there's 2 different types of Zoom shows. There's the people that produce it well, and there's a crowd, and then everyone else. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you can't depend on us, the comics, to do most of the promotion. That has to come from production somewhere in the back. So I feel it's the same thing with the comedy clubs. Like, I remember going to clubs, we would do radio in the morning, and there'd be it's Friday morning, you'd see that, you'd get the paper, and you'd be on the cover of the Weekend. That they put time into it. Now they're like, you're not a drawer, so we're not going to put you in. And it's like, that's bullshit.
And and I get that feeling of frustration too, where it's like, hey, can I, because but I think there is some opportunity there where it's like, well, at the very least, if I'm in charge of all my promotion, then I can say whatever the fuck I want. And I don't have to be on the country music station at 6 a.m. and make sure I don't swear. And, like I can make memes and, be nude. I can do whatever the hell I want.
True.
And that there is something empowering to that. On the other side of the burden of it.
Yes, absolutely.
And speaking of promotion, why don't you give your plug again for your thing? So
Yes. February 27th, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Opening for me is Jackie Cation, JackieCation.com. She's one of the finest comedians out there.
She is.
So funny. And she's somebody who can make any room laugh. Like she adores stand-up. Like she is somebody who, if she does not get to do it for, I would say about a half hour, she gets irritable.
Jackie's one of the best. I love watching her. And that's the thing that is always amazing. There's so many great females. Not that I don't support the men, because I have some very good friends of mine that are male comics that I love, but there's so many of us now. And that's one of the reasons why I came up with Funny Women of a Certain Age. That's why we're doing this special. Like a lot of the guys have said, "Oh, how come I can't do the early bird special?" I said, because I want to highlight the women, because we never have it easy. We just don't.
Well, and everybody has it hard in there. I totally, my husband's a old white male, and and it's a big wake up call to go, oh shit, nobody's interested in what I'm saying just because I'm tall over here. So I get the pain of loss, and yeah, but yeah, so it's yeah, and I've had it so easy in comparison to other people. I definitely, I did not do the road circuit, which is still rife with terribles.
Well, what was your path? I mean, could you just sort of take to a sort of short timeline?
I did comedy open mics. I still love open mics. I love 6 to 9 hours of 3-minute time segments of people shouting their unfiltered worldview to a crowd of largely disinterested strangers. So I did that. Then I did a 1-person show. I did a lot of characters. I would occasionally get hired at the local club in Minneapolis for women's nights. Women are funny in this particular way because of their pussies. And so then, yes, continue to do that. I mean, I basically tried to create venues for myself of where the love was. Like, if there wasn't a place that would hire me, I'd make my own show. I did a 1-person sitcom for a while because I was so frustrated that I couldn't get on a sitcom. So I was like, I'll just make my own fucking sitcom. And, yeah, and that's been so then I think I've been doing stand-up about 7 years. I started getting some spots on late night and yeah, and then I got the a half-hour Comedy Central special. And I was a secretary for 10 years during the time, so I wasn't making all my money from stand-up at all. I will do anything for money, pretty much. No one's ever asked me to get involved in the sex industry, but that is not because anyways, I haven't refused anything.
So that door is open still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this a fetish? This whole thing.
Can I have to just stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Because when you said the thing about the fetish, so it's a long story, but basically I ended up on a talk show with a bunch of porn stars and a porn producer, and we were having and for some reason they wanted the comic for the light stuff.
Yes.
And I remember saying to them, because they were all young girls, I said, well, what happens like when you get older and you have to retire? And one of the young porn stars goes, "Oh, honey, there's a fetish. They'd love you." And I was like, what? Ew, what? Somebody wants a 63-year-old woman? What? So
No, it's out there. Your market is out there. And I think that's so true. The same for comedy. It's like to say that it's like, well, what if I just talk about my exact experience, which is, I'm a person with mental illness who has a high voice and does about 4 different voices. Maybe if somebody would like that, turns out enough to buy me a house.
Now, because you do talk about mental illness, and then, Gary Goldman got all that, you've been doing it forever. What did you, I saw Gary's special. I thought it was really great.
Oh, so beautiful. Yeah, no. And it's just like,
the more the merrier, right?
Oh my God, for sure. And I am not the first comedian to talk about Jonathan Winters, I know, talked about it.
Yeah.
He was very open about his hospitalizations. And I'm sure before him, there were people. No, I am down for everybody. I want to hear all the life experiences.
I think that's really, I think that's really wonderful, because there is in our business, there's like I was telling Julia this, that when Hannah Gadsby came out with Nanette, there were so many comics that were like, well, why didn't you just do a TED Talk? And it was like, comedy can be, it doesn't have to just be stand-up punchlines. If it makes you laugh and moves you.
And how many times has a comic ended with something, a round of applause for our troops and the national anthem, and said that was comedy? Like, fuck you. Like, it's like, people want to be moved.
Yeah.
And if that's a part of your set, you're the person who decides what your set is filled with.
And that's what makes you so unique. And it's just that it's so honest. It's so true.
Well,
it all rings true.
And I can always, it's easy for me to say this right here. If I were at the comic strip at that little table where you sit at the booth, number one, I probably wouldn't be at the table because I'd stand nervously in the corner and then just overhear things. But I would say nothing. That is it's easy for me to pontificate in front of you lovely people.
But it's so important to let people know that everyone has a voice. I will even watch people that I disagree with. If I think they're funny and it's a joke, I will laugh. Like I think right now, you hear all this stuff about cancel culture and this and that, and it's like, is that your chair, by the way, Julia?
Yeah, is that coming through?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I was like, Maria and I were like, did she just?
It's
No. That's I have an artificial hip and it needs lubrication sometime. No, I got to get some WD-40 and spray this thing.
Yeah, but I think it's important. Like there's so much stuff on the internet that if you do something out of what's considered the norm in stand up, you get so many people coming at you, yelling, "Oh, that's not comedy." It's like I want to be moved. Like I don't know if you got to see Lily Tomlin's solo show, The Signs of Intelligent Life, years and years and years ago.
Yes. I didn't, but I know it was a masterpiece.
And just the way she made you laugh, she made you cry. I would much rather have laughter, crying. I think it's way more cathartic.
Yeah, and I mean, that's never been the interesting part of me to any art form, is like, is it any good? Like, well, I like it. So like, why do we have to quantify it in some, critical way? That's not interesting to me. I know it is to some people. And I wish them well.
All right, listen, ladies, we are almost out of time. So Maria, we of course want to plug the show on February 27th.
Yes, but no pressure. And also, again, if you don't have $15, just email me at ariamayamfordbay@gmail.com, because not everybody has $15 right about now.
No,
and it's serious. But otherwise, rushtix.com. Either way.
And I know the woman that is part of Rush Ticks, and it's a great organization, and they are. No, Abby. I don't know.
Okay.
and she just joined over there. So but this is going to be they run their shows like a real club.
Yeah, no, it's lovely, and I love it. And the Nowhere Club is also very
Yes.
good. I was just on a show there. That was really fun. And
Yeah.
the shows are fun, and it's just fun to see how every comic does crowd work differently, and
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Julia. We have we're doing Julia's CD is right behind her. So
oh my God, what is that CD called?
Oh, it's called Happy Hello Boys, I'm Back. And on the back, it's me coming. It's all bathroom related. No, it's you know what? When I recorded it was back during when South Carolina was trying to come up with the bathroom laws. So that was sort of my way of sticking my thumb in their eye.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I think we should all have unisexual bathrooms just because the women's bathrooms, the line's too long.
And the conversations would be a lot better.
Yes. Like, I don't care.
Exactly. And it's so funny that you said that. So during, we're in quarantine, pandemic, right? So I, of course, because I'm an older woman, I have to pee everywhere. So I know where everything, but during the pandemic, they started closing down certain bathrooms in Central Park, whatever. So me and my husband, we do our walk every morning and we go up to Central Park and the woman's is closed. It's a Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning. Women were just walking into the men's room. It was the funniest thing to watch guys at the urinal going, ah! And we didn't care. We're like, fuck it. We're peeing. We're going in. Yeah. And so I agree with you. Seriously, like, it's not a problem anymore.
I'm not above, maybe there'd be less. I mean, women just got to be trained with the Marines now. So it's like if we all poop in the same pooper. Anyways, much hope.
This
we
really
all poop
took a turn.
It took a turn.
It really took a turn, didn't it?
This is how we're going to end it. If we all poop in the same pooper. Maria, thank you so much for this. This is so great. I am, continued success. We both love you so much. We were so thrilled to have you on the show. Thank you
for having me.
I want to say goodbye too. Can I say goodbye too?
Of course.
Well, thank you for coming in. Really, we really were excited that you were coming. We're still excited. We'll be excited after you're gone. You won't even remember us, and we'll just go. That was exciting.
No, I'm sure everything will drop a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a good day, you guys.
And you too. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.